Texas Rugby fans, it is episode 11 of the Texas.
We turned it up to 11.
We're turning it up to 11. Welcome back, Texas Rugby Monthly. It is, and what month is this? It's July. Again, we're 2 for 2 on recording in the month that we tell people that we're going to record in. We'll actually get it out in this same month, too. Holy shit. Gentlemen, last time that the three of us sat down for a good conversation of all things beautiful about the state of Texas and the game played in heaven, we had MLR was wrapping up and getting to the final, the business end of the season, well, at least for one of us. Oh, I know. Sorry, that was a pretty easy one to throw out there. And then, obviously we've been kind of scrambling, and now this is it. This coming weekend is the last game of 2021. Up yours, COVID. We handled it well. I think good job, MLR, for the most part on that. But getting into it, guys, 1 month. How have you guys been the past month?
Beautiful. I actually got to go down and hang out with Grant for a little bit of time.
I did see a few beverages were probably consumed at that particular point in time, too.
No doubt. No doubt. I ran into the commissioner, George Kilbrew.
The commish. Can we just call him the commish?
Yep. For sure.
I like that. I like that better.
From now on, just the commish.
The commish. By the way,
the commish.
His funny thing about the commish, his old Twitter handle used to be like Brewdog something. Like I was like, why? Like he changed it, and I was gonna take a screenshot, and I didn't, and I was like, son of a bitch. Like that's one of the things. Like that would have been awesome just to like remember that one time before you became the commissioner of a professional sports league.
Flash it up at the end of every episode.
Brewdog. Anyway,
if we ever get him on this show, that's what you should just put under there as Brewdog.
Hey, by the way, sources say that if you just ask him to come on, he is open to coming on to any podcast.
We're doing it then.
Which doesn't make us feel special.
Yeah, that would track.
Yeah, I mean, well, people will follow us. Well, welcome to everybody who's following us, all 35 of you. No,
I think all 35 of them that talk to me about it every month.
Yeah, exactly. They're sitting there going, God.
I don't know any of them.
Yeah, I don't know any of them. Like, remember, they're down in the valley. I remember this going back a couple episodes. Down in the valley, not. so hate everybody in the valley. We do get.
That's probably Baltimore.
Yeah, we do get people carrying over from the Austin Rugby podcast from Australia. So everybody wants to know about Texas Rugby.
Yeah.
So, Dustin, what's going on in Austin?
Man, Austin, it's hot as hell.
It was hot as hell last weekend. It really was.
Yeah, it's hot, and I feel bad for I feel bad for everybody out playing rugby right now. Y'all are brave.
We got to Burfield. I got to Burfield at 8:30 and 8:15 in the morning to get our spot and early, and I got the right spot for the day. All our guys were happy about
a shady tree.
How much shade we had and how we had our tent set up to block the sun. Well, we did good. We really did do well on that. But
yeah,
and they only had one break in that tournament, instead of 2 or 3 like most tournaments had. So instead of an hour and a half of break time or an hour and 20 minutes of break time between each game, we were looking at 40 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah, and 45 minutes, and it was beating some guys down. I mean, there's a lot of injuries out there. We had one guy just running sprint full out, and then you could see everything was tightening up. He had hit, and then he kept going for 20 meters and got over the 10-meter line into the field and sniper.
Yeah, man down.
I mean, you could just see the leg he was stretching out when he got it straight. it wouldn't crook again.
No.
And I mean, here he is. He's trying to land on it with without hurting something.
Oh my gosh.
And he hits it and just boink.
Yeah.
And he was away. He would have, if he would have cramped up, he would have had to try. He was a full 15 meters away from the closest defender.
I don't miss those days. I don't. Just don't. Like
kudos.
Yeah, I mean
I'll see y'all in Aspen in September.
Yeah, when it's 75. Anyway, yeah, hot as hell in Austin. Listen, I'm gonna be pretty short and sweet to the point about Austin this year for rugby. We'll talk let's talk some MLR, right? Because we'll get to some other stuff with other local Sevens stuff going on here with Grant a little bit later, because Sevens is kicking off, and man, it has been an exciting Sevens season all around.
Sevens is winding down, dude.
I know it's been it's been an exciting Seven seasons. Like, we haven't talked about Sevens, like we touched on it last time, but 7 seasons winding down, national championships on the way. At last, we left all of our MLR teams. Well, 2 of our MLR teams. We were all ready to see what was going to happen. How was everything going to unfold? Couple weeks left in the season. Who was going to come out on top? Unfortunately, it was not the HGs. But to be honest, we went into games against LA, went into the game against Old Glory, and really we needed to go into LA and to win. That's kind of the big thing. We had a bye week. Coming off before the bye week, we had a good win. But going into the bye week, we really, I think, we needed to come out of that and go into LA and win. And for the first half against LA, man, I was like, okay, like, we can do this. 19 points on the board, leading at halftime, and it's just I think penalties killed us. JP Doyle killed us. A couple other things. Sorry, I said it on the Austin Rugby podcast. I don't like to criticize referees, but when Mr. Hightower and Mr. Power on multiple occasions are like, oh, and there's another questionable call by JP Doyle. Yeah, it was rough. Austin didn't win in LA, and unfortunately, Utah scored. What I said is Atlanta couldn't play defense and stop Utah from scoring. And so
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Utah needed one with an Austin loss the second to last week of the season. Austin needed Utah not to score a bonus point at all. Like, period.
Right.
Again, against LA and or Atlanta. Granted, it happened against LA, but
it was a 5-point lead at that point, right?
Yeah, so they had a 5-point
to keep you within a bonus point win, 2 double bonus point win of tying them.
Yeah.
And they went and got that point to get to 6.
Yes, that's kind of what. Yeah. So as soon as they got that 6 bonus point, we were at 5 points down, and through the crazy mathematical rules and pulling out my abacus and a chalkboard that made me look like a beautiful mind, we had determined that Austin would get through and go to the playoffs if Austin got a 5-point win against LA and a 5-point win against Atlanta, or not Atlanta, excuse me, but Old Glory. And then the other scenario was Austin would get through if they lost to LA and didn't get a bonus point, but got 5 against Old Glory, and Utah didn't score a single bonus point at all for the rest of the season, and we would get through on point differential. Obviously, that didn't happen. So, but we end the season. We lost against Old Glory. We ended the season 9-7, which honestly, for to go from 0-16 to 1-4 to really competing for the playoffs up until the next to last week of the season, it was nice to see. I think a lot of us, we talk about, say, Alex Kalpa and Alex Reese and I, when we talk about it on the Austin Rugby podcast, we've said that we saw at the beginning of the season the exciting things that Sam Harris and Mark Gerard were doing. The growth obviously has been phenomenal. The fan support has been through the roof this past season. We saw the building blocks of what Sam Harris called something great in Austin. And I totally 100% agree that things are going in the right direction for us. I just thought that we were going to make the playoffs. Like we go back to like week 1 and week 2 where we have a 1-point loss, to or a 2-point loss to Utah at home and a 1-point loss to San Diego at home, and it's just, oh man, it's crushing. It was pretty disappointing, those two, and you go back and think about it, and that's kind of part of the parody of MLR, right? We talk about it sometimes on the podcast, like everybody's close, and you miss a bonus point here, miss a bonus point there, and it costs you. In the end, you need to take points when you can get them. So, unfortunately, it's not the way that a lot of us wanted the end of the season, but we're super happy with what's happened down here in Austin. And man, I can't sing Sam Harris and Mark Gerard's praises enough. I think what they're doing is pretty phenomenal. I know obviously shortened season, COVID, whatever you want to call it, a lot of stuff has happened. They'll get their team. They're going to rebuild. I know they've already been in talks with players for next season, thinking about who they want to bring on. I do know some players that will not be returning to Austin next year. Couple, we won't say them out. I won't say them out loud yet, but a couple of them I'm kind of shocked and surprised, and a couple of them was like, yeah, I definitely saw that one happening.
Let's hope they stay in Texas.
Well, yeah, I think you would like probably 3 of them to stay. 3 of them that I know for sure. You're like, I'd like those guys to stay in Texas. But for the most part, yeah, I think Austin it's on the up and up, right? I think that's kind of been the big thing, is everything's on the up and up, and we're looking good. We talked about the growth of the back office for Austin has been growing, and I just forgot his name. Biscuits and gravy. Austin added a player, like a director of player personnel, USA Eagle, former captain. Brain fart.
Dave Hodges.
Dave Hodges.
Hodges.
I'm sitting there, like, his last name starts with an H and his first name starts with a D, and I can't remember. So Haji's coming in. So that'll be interesting come draft time. But also, they've been going around to the sevens tournaments, and from what I understand, a lot of the AG back office staff, like someone said Sam was out at Burr Field this past weekend watching some matches.
I think he was.
They're out watching, and so if you're a Texas rugby player and you're playing sevens and you're doing stuff, you're going to be at an event and you're having MLR coaches watching you and looking to see what you can do. And who knows, they may see something in you, that in 2 to 3 years, you'll be maybe lining up for the AGs or at least the academy level teams. And, that's what we kind of want to see is kind of the growth of that sport that way.
I've already heard from a player who's been in contact with one of those coaches.
Well, hot damn.
Recently.
Bring them down to Austin. Sorry, guys.
No. Keep them up here.
Your coach has been in contact, or
no?
They
want to be
Alex Elkins in Jackals uniform.
Which one?
He just wants Alex Elkins in Jackals uniform.
No, he'll be in the orange, man. Sorry.
There's a couple of guys up here who are not well known who
will be
hopefully will be playing for the Jackals next season.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of what we want to promote, is the growth of the sport. I think
there are some players around Texas who are going to be at the PR Sevens as well, the Premier Rugby Sevens in Memphis.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know very little about Premier Rugby Sevens, so maybe somebody else can fill me in on that one. Okay. I think from the standpoint of rugby this season, I mean, we're now getting into like this next month is the dead, well, minus the Sevens national championship. It's the dead month, right? There's no rugby going on. Like, what do we do around Texas?
We take time off from rugby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
unless
this is about the time that old boy stuff starts up. So.
What's that, Rick?
This is about the time the old boy stuff starts up, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So, I mean, that's really we can talk more about some Austin stuff with our guest later. So kind of let you guys go on a little bit more since our guest is from Austin, Rick.
So, what you got for us there, Rick?
What do you got, Rick?
So the biggest news for Dallas area is the fact that the Reds are sending 2 sides and Grand Prairie Mavericks are sending a side to the National Sevens tournament up in Washington, August 13th to 15th. So that's pretty exciting. I know the Reds' first side, been winning a lot. They've got some very, very talented players. Their second side, not as well known, but I know that the Reds have been, doing well on the funding front. And so that they're able to send 2 teams, and I'm sure it came down to somebody else just wasn't able to go, and the Reds ponied up to send a second team. The Mavericks first side has some excellent players, not as much depth at the Mavericks as with the Reds, but some really dynamic players on that first team I've actually played with and coached. So I know those guys pretty well. At least 2 of those teams, the top teams, will do some serious damage at this National Sevens tournament. Also, the biggest news, MLR news, is that the Jackals are selling their season tickets finally. So I know there were people posting that, they were selling season tickets last year, which is not true. They were asking for deposits for season tickets.
Yes.
And so since I did put down a deposit at that time, I was included in the first round of offers to get season tickets and ended up getting the first purchase.
I was going to say, come on, you were in the first round. You were the first. the very first Jackal season
I was
ticket
not
holder.
only the first, but apparently I got special treatment because everybody else I've talked to did not get the same treatment. When
if you stop bugging them so much about becoming, Jacks, and that would be.
Scott Sanju greeted me, sat down with him and talked with him while the season ticket sales rep, Jeff Ackles,
took money out of your bank account.
Did all my paperwork. Exactly. Took my money. So I will be sitting in section 108 or section 8, as we will change the name to. Of course, if you've been in the military or familiar with military terminology, section 8 is the crazies. So yes, section 8, row 1, seats 1 and 2.
All right.
So I'll be right there, front and center for the Jackals.
Section 8
this next year. The problem we have is that we don't have a team.
Nope.
And we don't have a head coach. We do have assistant coaches, but we do not have a head coach. My understanding is that those conversations are going on, that they've had several people want the position, but because of visa issues, they would not work out. So they're still on the hunt. Hopefully that will happen before the draft, but obviously we have a very good talent evaluator in Elaine Vassy, who is running basically everything in terms of player personnel, going into the draft. So not a huge concern there, but it would be nice to have a head coach there, at least to prop this up to say that, yes, there will be a team next year. So that's where we're at right now.
I mean, you guys did have a head coach last year to say that there's going to be a team.
Yeah, well, he's still in the league.
And
he's still a head coach in MLR.
He is, just not with you all.
No.
Which I understand. In Dallas news, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe, did Grand Prairie, did they move up to Division 1?
Yes.
Congratulations to them.
That was confirmed in the most recent call that they would be moving up to D1. I think they will not be carrying the D1B side at this time. But I think the expectation is that they will very quickly need to put that together.
Yeah. Refresh my memory. You experts in Texas rugby rules and regulations. If you are a D1 side, are you required to have a B side as well?
So that depends on like we don't, like HTX doesn't have one, so it's not actually required. It's suggested, and if you don't have one, you either have to have a partner club with you in the area that fills out the D2 D3 requirements, or you have to have a plan to have a D2 D3 team or something like that going forward.
Correct. Yeah. Basically, it's to say that, in the Maverick situation, they probably won't have one year 1, but they'll basically be a soft requirement for them to have one in year 2.
Okay. You think, well, as of right now, just being D1, do you think that who are the likely partners that they would partner with? Obviously, because they wouldn't have a D1, 2, or 3 side, D1, 2, and 3 side.
Be Fort
So,
Worth.
yeah, and I'm not sure they would even call it Fort Worth anymore. It may be more of like the ULIS, kind of the HEB thing, a combination, because Fort Worth really has dropped off in recent years. So it'll be kind of what Fort Worth used to be, which was a lot of the HEB guys, the Hearst, ULIS.
Well, and
Bedford
they
guys.
brought on a new coach this year. Fort Worth has, so
Okay, good.
yeah, who's been a great organizer since he was in college. So
Okay, cool. I mean, that's
good news.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, it's bad that Fort Worth has not had a D1 team.
Yeah, Mike Sexton has stepped away from triathloning to get back into rugby and be a coach. He's been coaching in triathlon for a while now. He was always a very good, very capable rugby player, and as a front row player, and now he's skinny as a rail and pretty smart to boot. So I think he'll do a good job up there. And you didn't hear this from me, but there's this dude named Grant Cole who recruited him to rugby.
Who?
Grant Cole, he's some idiot out of College Station.
Oh, that's right. He's got that.
Sounds like an Aggie.
He's got that long. Yeah. He's got that long hair. And, and a mustache.
It's mullet out.
And a mustache.
He's got the reverse mullet.
For those obviously listening who've never watched an episode, Grant, maybe not so much hair on top of the head, but it's all down on the chin. It's all on the chin.
That's how it goes.
I've got one chin whisker that I can stretch out and touch my belly button with.
Oh,
I'm
man.
not sure we need to know that.
More information from Texas Rugby Monthly. We're going to take a short break and figure out what just happened. Oh, man.
Grant, tell us what's happening down in Houston.
Well, so, of course, everybody knows by now that Heineke Meyer is coming on as our director of rugby. Like you, Rick, we don't have a coach yet. So, but I know that Heineke's in town right now, and H is, as they call him, is basically going through and making determinations who's going to stay, who's going to go, kind of thing.
Is he making player determinations? Is that right?
Oh yeah, I mean that's his job really, is making player decisions and coaches' decisions.
It's not a bad. By the way, for those listening who don't know who Heineke Meyer is, would you like to go ahead and explain?
So Heineke Meyer is a much celebrated coach in South Africa. But if you've read his book, 7, My Notes on Life and Leadership, I would, if you haven't, I encourage you to. But if you have, then you already know that he's very introspective and looks in on himself. He understands his failures just as well as he understands his successes.
Yeah,
and he's had a lot of failures, and he'll admit it. But he's also had some pretty huge successes, taking the Blue Bulls to be Super Rugby champions 3 times, and in an era after an era where they were going 0-11 in Super Rugby, and got them from one place to the other. He also did a really good job coaching the Springboks, but he'd been on the Springbok coaching trail for years before that as the forwards coach as well.
Yeah.
He had a stint at Leicester that was cut short because of some family illnesses that he had to go tend to in South Africa. And he also had a stint recently at Stade Francais that was marred by what can only be described as a player rebellion.
Yeah. And
the player rebellion was more so against the organization than it was the coach.
Yeah.
But he'd obviously lost the locker room there, and he just decided that if they're not going to give him 100%, he can't give them 100%, and it's no reason to stay on.
Yeah.
So it was that was a conflicting issue for him, but he came through it pretty well. Spent the year thinking about it, writing this book, and now he's going to joining us as a director of rugby, which is good. He's going to handle that GM DOR role where all the player stuff really is going to go through him.
Yeah.
And all the who's hired on as coaches are going to go through him. So, my little volunteer stint as a team manager with HTX will probably be, up for consideration. Am I doing the right job? So we'll see about that coming through shortly.
I think you're doing a swell job.
Grant.
What?
I think you're doing a swell job, Grant.
Well, I'm doing a job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so needless to say, he's got a bit of credentials.
Yeah. So moving on from that, HTX has continued on this summer, taking in some players from Minnesota and in Alex Malin and Andy Vassallo. Alex has returned to Minnesota already. He had a short stint, but Andy stayed on and really been a standout player. If you're going to go play against Minnesota in college rugby, you need to have a plan for Andy Vassallo, basically. He is very much in the Danny Barrett role as a player.
Take note, Big Ten teams.
Yeah, well, they're not in the Big Ten anymore.
Oh, Minnesota, really? And
yeah, Minnesota's not in the Big Ten anymore. Travel is just too expensive.
Oh, I bet.
So, and Cam Wilmer from University of San Diego's come in. He's a Canadian, big, tall, lanky guy, plays lock, runs fast, has a lot of good skills. It wouldn't surprise me down the road to see Toronto pick up Cam Wilmer on their squad. He's good enough. He projects to be a lock in the MLR, and he's good enough to do so. And we've had an interesting summer. We've not done so well in a couple places and done better in other places, but we've got Horseshoe Sevens coming up. We had last weekend we had 3 SaberCats on our team in Taylor Howden, Zach Pangilinan, and Max Tackett.
Yeah.
And we there were quite a few other SaberCats out to support them at Burfield. So it was pretty nice little atmosphere with all of those players and all the HDX players as well working together. And so we've got Horseshoe Sevens coming up in 2 weeks, 2 weekends. And then after that, we are taking team to Seattle for Club Sevens Festival. And then after that, Taylor is taking a team to Rugby Town. And a lot of the guys who go with him to Seattle are going with him to Rugby Town.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a pretty full summer for HDX. And then, just looking at the total of sevens, it's been a real battle between Huns 1 and Reds 1.
They've battled. They really have battled it out this year.
And the Huns are at the top. Reds are. You can look at the point differential and tell that Reds are right there next to them.
Yeah.
It's just that Adam Scheidler is whatever he's doing in Austin is making amends for what they've done in the last few years, and he's really got them on the up and up. So that's good stuff.
I think he's got a magic cauldron.
Hey,
I talked to
we
Adam
haven't
on the
mentioned
podcast.
this yet. We haven't mentioned this yet, guys. But the biggest news
I was just getting
out
ready
of Texas was Kat Roche.
I literally was getting ready to say that.
I was
Are you kidding me?
Kat Roche from the
on the
USA, man. Remember?
Awesome.
Yep.
Our second guest ever on Texas Rugby Monthly, Kat Roche, who everybody loves as an AR, but now,
well, not everybody. There are people in Texas that don't like her.
Well, they can solder off for all I care.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
What's that?
I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought she did a very commendable job. I did not see anything in that match that threw me for a loop as far as roughing went.
No.
She was awesome.
Kat was great. I think standing up to begin with, and she said, "I know you guys are trying to test me," and that was one of the funniest things. Like the whole time, smile on her face, calling a penalty. I love that.
Giving the card.
Yeah,
No hesitation.
I was like, someone get a red. I really want to see a red.
Well, and she did something in that game that any young referee needs to pay attention to, and that she was extremely communicative.
Absolutely.
Not only with her voice, but if you listen to her whistles, she has a whistle for a penalty, a whistle for a knock on, a whistle for a try, and they all sound differently.
Yeah.
So it's very clear on the field what has happened. So if there's a knock on, there's a slider with whistle, and okay, maybe it's not as important as a penalty.
Yeah.
There's an angry whistle that you're going to hear from her. That is, I mean, and it's angry, and she's about to give a card. You know from the whistle.
Yeah.
If you've been around, and listened to her. So, but then our arm signals are also very crisp, very easy to understand, and her whistle signal talk is clear enough to where there doesn't have to be a lot of interpretation or her explaining what she's calling.
Yeah,
because
she wasn't just good with the players though. I thought her communication with her ARs was phenomenal. For a first-time ref to think about all those
better than
things,
some, that's for sure.
ARs, I thought it was fantastic.
And that's something they're asking these refs to do a lot more of is take a breath. It's your time. Take your time.
Totally
walk over. If all you're doing is walking over to take a breath and get your breath back, that's fine. And then make sure you're talking about, something, or it looks like you're talking about something, even if you're not. No, seriously. I mean,
that's a good point. Like, you can just, hey, I'm coming over just to say hey.
I mean, hey, players go down and wait for the magic spray to come out, right? The magic cold spray. So I mean,
exactly.
Why shouldn't your ref go over and talk to their ARs, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, she did a really good job of facilitating that match. I mean, she didn't really have to manage it. She facilitated it. She understood the context of the match, what it was, what these two teams were trying to do. And, for the most part, let them play on.
Yeah.
And I think the penalty count was somewhere like around 15 or 16.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
She solidified her position as an MLR ref going forward.
I think
absolutely.
Well, yeah, in the minds of fans, yes. I'm not sure if JK feels that way, but I definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
So
are we biased as Texas Rugby-ists?
Let's say that we are.
Are we biased because she was a guest on the podcast? Are we biased because she is an awesome person? She lives here in Austin. Did live up in Dallas. Yeah, you're damn right we are. So JK, if you're listening, I know you probably aren't. But if you aren't listening, get her in the middle more times next year.
We have a guest been waiting patiently for us.
He has been waiting patiently. We should probably get to him. Let's let him on. But I mean, we can talk to him. We can let him sit there. He can just sit around. He's got a whole lot of orange on, which I really, really love. What's that?
Let's bring him on.
Let's bring him on. We'll bring him on right after this break. All right, welcome back, Texas Rugby fans, from that very nice advertisement that you got promoting the Rugby for Texas shirts that you see here if you're watching. All proceeds going to charity, which we also love. Grant has his, right, Grant?
I have mine.
Do you have yours?
I have T-shirts. I don't know. I've got some T-shirts too.
I don't know.
I love T-shirt.
I love T-shirt. Rick,
I literally spent over $500 on shirts and kit this year so far.
Holy shit! Okay, I do know that Rick up there in the great city of Dallas, the Big D as they call it, he definitely has his. Has his Gilgroniak gear too?
I have a Gilgroniak shirt in my closet. I've worn it
boy.
on my walk.
That's a
boy. Only at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, so nobody notices.
Oh, whatever. That's I sport that orange. The other person who sports the orange, of course, is our guest this month. None other than the great Connor Mooneyham. None other than Connor Mooneyham himself, the #1 draft twice in Major League Rugby, the only professional athlete ever to be drafted first in the same season and two different drafts.
That's going to be a lasting record. I don't think anybody's going to ever break that.
I don't think anybody ever breaks it, and I sure hope it doesn't. But hey, Connor, welcome to Texas Rugby Monthly.
Back.
What's that?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I said unless coronavirus comes back. Yeah.
You hush your mouth right now. I will kick you off of this show.
You just jinxed us.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, he needs a Booker T-type T-shirt going two times.
Connor, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you joining us and having a good time and just talking some rugby.
For sure.
No,
Yeah,
awesome.
happy to be here, guys.
Appreciate it.
So,
Well,
Connor, I got a breakout question for you.
icebreaker.
In this past season, what player tackled you with the most ferocity?
What player tackled me with the most ferocity?
Man,
Oh,
you're
man.
jumping right out of the gate on this one. Holy
Probably my own teammate, Don Bailey.
Wait, hold on. Was this in a game or was this in practice?
I've heard-
That's different.
No, this is practice.
I've heard about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have the story? Okay. Go for it.
I mean, in LA, we decided to go full go in practice, and I caught a high ball, and Dom was coming downfield full steam, and he got me pretty good. So
Dom coming full steam is no.
Yeah, that's a nightmare for most of us.
Yeah, it's no joke. Didn't feel great.
Okay.
Ali Khalifa probably can take it, but I mean, he you know.
Man, I don't know.
You didn't get hit by Dicky Lottie?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did get hit by him as well.
Oh, but not as hard as Don Bailey. That's all right. We know the guys in Houston don't hit very hard.
I heard a hit when I was down in Houston from Dicky.
Yeah.
The other winger for Houston, the other Fijian, he got me pretty good at home in Austin. Yeah, he gave me a little bump.
Yeah.
Give me a little bumpski.
What do you feel was your best hit all season? As I'm thinking of one in particular.
Probably the one against Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was redemption for the high tackle, the early and high tackle that on Kurt that he had, and then literally like a minute and a half later, God laid him out. So
I wish you guys could hear the audio on that too, because
I was in the stands. I heard it.
Well, I mean, when afterwards, I was like, "Curdy, I got you back, man."
That's funny.
Good for you.
Good times. Well, hey, Connor, you got a lot of distinctions. This is year one is now wrapped up. It started off pretty crazy. Let's go back 1 year as you're getting ready. As we talked about it on the Austin Rugby podcast, and I had to talk about it because, well, sorry, Rick. We talked about it. You were in. Sorry for those of you listening. Rick is just sulking right now because Connor was the first ever draftee in Major League Rugby and drafted to none other than the Dallas Jackals.
Hey, wait a minute. Not only that, but I actually had him in my mock draft. I had Cam Dodson going number 1 to Dallas, and then Connor going with their second pick, the Jackals taking Connor. And so I actually had 3 correct out of the 4 picks that Dallas took outside of Cam Dodson.
Yeah.
So
which both went to Austin, by the way.
To be like, oh my God, we're gonna have one of the best wings in the league who could also come in and play 10 in a pinch. Oh, it's gonna be amazing.
Connor, you gonna play 10 in a pinch?
Connor,
I don't think I'm taking Mac's spot anytime soon, or even Will, or even Kurt. I mean, they're definitely better 10s than me. But going back to that draft, it is pretty funny because I did see that post, Rick, when you made that little mock post, and I already knew I was going to Dallas number 1. I had known for months, actually. So I looked at it and I was just like, well, I mean, he knows I'm going there, so that's good. Yeah, it's been hectic. It's been wild. I mean, I'm happy with how things have panned out, staying in Texas, staying close to home.
We'd like to get you home. I mean,
he is
back to Houston.
Grant, he is home.
I mean, I'll pay for the transport, man. I'll come get you.
And I will lay down strips of barbed wire to pop your tires before you come. I love it. Isn't it great that we're all fighting over to make sure that Connor, you stay in Austin and don't go to other places in the future?
Yeah,
my first thing to say to H was bring Connor Mooneyham and John Ryberg home to Houston.
Johnny Thighs. Yeah, there you go. 2 wingers this time.
Duo.
There you go. Well, I mean, so Connor, I mean, you talked about it on the podcast last time. It was a bit crazy, right? To be ready to move up there because you were in Dallas, were you not?
No,
Or
so
you
I
had just gotten close to moving into to moving
yeah,
Dallas.
I
You'd come back home
signed
to,
the
Austin,
lease
to Houston,
and loaded up the U-Haul,
and then
and then yeah, we got the email.
yeah.
It was weird. Like everything about it was just like super weird. I was at the hospital actually when I got the email because my mom was having her appendix removed. So it was like literally everything that was happening was just weird in my life. I don't know.
That adds a whole different
Just
level
chaotic. Yeah.
Crazy. And then, you come down to Austin and, Sam calls you up, and obviously it was, pretty easy, I guess, a pretty easy choice. Say, okay, well, we're just going to turn left now and go over to Austin. This season for you guys, and I alluded to it earlier in the podcast, and talking about from a fan's perspective, somebody who's been here since the beginning, and saying what we're building in Austin and what Sam and Mark are building in Austin is really, I think, something special. I don't know. I assume that you feel the same way. Excited to come back for the next couple seasons. Are you allowed to say how many years you have on your contract with us, or did you sign an extension with us?
Yeah. So contract is actually in negotiations right now.
Good.
So
get it
obviously
signed,
I'm planning,
Sam.
Yeah, planning on staying here. But yeah, the culture is awesome. That's one thing that kind of drew me here. I don't know if I told you about the process of me calling every single coach in the league except for a few teams after I realized that I was going to be dropped from Dallas. So that was like Austin was one of the places that didn't really give me any assurance at all. There were some teams that were like, "Yeah, we'll pick you up straight away if we have your pick," and Sam was like, I can't give you a yes or a no. So I was like, okay.
He was holding all his cards. He was holding all his cards and just
yeah. He was like the least transparent one, which is funny because that's like not like him at all.
Yeah, no, he's pretty
like
open about everything. Yeah,
very open. Yeah. So that was me and my wife were just kind of sweating bullets for a few days, waiting on what was going to happen. But yeah, like you said, it was easy to just come over here. 2.5 hour drive up to Austin. Austin's been good to us, so
it's only 2.5 more hours north to come back to Dallas.
You can get
just in case.
It's funny. We have a player, Brendan Ramsey. He lives in Dallas.
Oh yeah,
and he
comes down here.
Practices. Yeah, and he comes down here. So.
He knows where to go.
Like Mikey too.
Well, Mikey actually, didn't play with us. He's up there with you guys, so he's open for selection.
I already got. You already know what's happened with that. So,
Rick, can you tell us any more details about Dallas for next year? I know you're a season pass holder.
I love that Connor is asking the questions now. Go for it. Let's just do reverse from now on. Like Connor, go for it.
Are they still in the same stadium? Is it still Globe Live?
Yeah, so I got my season tickets, front row for Globe Life Park. It's going to be at the big old Ranger Stadium, the way they set it up for the for XFL. And currently they're in talks with coaches. Nessie is still here, Malifa, and there are two other assistant coaches who I don't think I can name because I don't think they're officially signed.
Because you're one of them.
Yeah, probably.
No, Connor. That Rick has applied multiple times to be Jack. He wants to be
my
the mascot.
resume's over there, and they just no interest.
Oh no, they know where it's at. It's in that trash can that's right next to the.
Exactly. So Elaine knows me too well, so unfortunately, but I love Elaine. Elaine is still obviously around, and she
had a kid recently.
Yeah, she had her second child recently. And her husband was the head coach director of rugby Harlequins, who was my club as I grew up in rugby. And so they're still there. They're still working. I know that all the admin ownership group is still there. But until they get that head coach to me, there's still questions, obviously. So they will be a part of the draft. So
Connor, you said your contract's in negotiation right now, and I want to ask you about that. But I'm curious if we're going to see you at PR7s.
Oh, I'm not sure. I kind of like fell off the sevens grid after I went to Argentina for some reason.
Well, I think Clifton and Tolks would be remiss in not asking you on there. So, I'm just saying that right now so they can hear.
Sticking here.
And make sure they know. And if not, I'm just going to.
So, are there any stipulations in the MLR contract that says you can't compete in other rugby competitions outside of season?
That's a good question. You just have to sign a player release form, and then it has to be signed by you, I think the team manager, and then the head coach. So everyone basically has to be notified that you're going to be going to play somewhere.
You think about what happened
Right.
with the 10 series, with the World 10 series, right? Like because
Bermuda.
they were. It's the same.
Everyone was in the
everybody.
MLR.
God, it was pretty much MLR 10s for the most part, and a couple other guys. Like,
Hey, not a bad idea.
yeah, it is. 10s is terrible.
I
10s
enjoyed it. I thought it was a great
10s is
production.
terrible. Sorry,
I really thought my favorite part.
I've never played it.
Was where the kickers took the conversions from.
where they took the conversions from. Well, I mean, but that just left it. If you had a guy with if you had like a Will McGee with a monster boot who can kick
Or
from
Connor
50,
Mooneyham.
or Connor Mooneyham who can goal kick from 50. Connor, how's your goal kicking ability from 50 out on an angle?
Not great anymore.
Yeah,
Well,
and what's
look,
what's
he's
it like
going
going
Morath
from
and Mason. I mean,
Yeah,
some tough competition down there.
what's it like
100%.
going from where you're the man that's looked at, and then you walk in and you've got Morath and Mason and a couple of other of those guys and McGee there.
Maggie.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I learn a lot every single practice, and the guy that teaches the most about kicking is Mark Gerard. Like, he's the best kicker out there.
Really?
He's probably better than anyone on our team. He's just launching it, always just messing around with the boys, trying to do kicking competitions and smoking us. He talking smack the whole time, which is hilarious.
For somebody who hasn't played in a few years, he has a monster. He's got a cannon for a leg. And you think he wasn't even the kicker. Like, he wasn't the kicker for the Wallabies or the Brumbies when he was there. Like, yeah.
He has a boot.
Yeah, it's insane. There's some video online if you can go like from practice and stuff that you can go watch or not. So
he's always trying to kick 60-meter drop goals every practice. And he does hit them sometimes.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I was waiting for the day where it's like, if we didn't get some people to sign, like, is Mark going to lace up again? And the answer is no, he's not.
Or Sam.
Or Sam. Yeah, Sam's 42, 43, something like that. So, so let's talk about your season, right? I am curious, like, there highs and lows, right? As most rugby players have.
He missed out on all those tough seasons in Austin.
We did. Those seasons where we had a team and somebody else didn't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, what I'm kind of curious about is obviously we know not making the playoffs. I alluded to it at the beginning. I talked about the beginning of the podcast is like, it's hard, like, for us as fans, like, for those that were so embedded and like knew what was going on, knew the players that were signing at the beginning of the season. I'm like, oh, we're making playoffs with this squad. Like, this is exciting. And, we're young, we're fast. We've got this really cool dynamic. And then, not making it, that was disappointing for us. But were there any points in the season this year for you that you like were just like an all-time, like, man, like, I'm at a really big high? And then, like, what were like really low points? And like in your mind, like, I have things that I think would be low points, but I don't know if it's the same for you as they are for everybody else who's a fan.
Yeah, so probably the all-time high was, getting that starting jersey on the first game, right out of the gate. That was one of my big goals, was to come into the MLR and try to get a starting jersey right out, right off the bat. That was probably my biggest high, and then that just carried into the first few games. And then my lows would definitely be my concussions. The first one was pretty bad. Don't really remember much. I just woke up in the hospital and I was like, what is happening? Second one.
Is that the Rooney one?
Yeah, the one against Rooney.
I was there for that one, Connor. I saw you kind of as you got onto the golf cart to go to the ambulance. Just said, good luck with that. But I mean, yeah, I could tell that someone right.
You were talking to a ghost at that time. I don't remember any of those interactions. I don't remember getting on a golf cart. I kind of lost like 9 hours of my life, and I haven't ever gotten it back, which is nice because I don't want to get it back. I don't want to relive any of those memories.
Yeah.
I just kind of move on. And it's not like me to come back and be like tentative again. So I'm always gonna just kind of fly around and be aggressive. That's the way I play. And the same thing happened in San Diego the day before I was meant to go with the USA squad out to the UK. So that was probably the lowest point.
That was that's what I was kind of thinking about.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that happened, a lot of coincidences and a lot of good things that kind of happened out of that as well. Because my mom and my wife were there, my grandparents were there, so I got to spend some extra time with them in San Diego.
That's nice.
The club really took care of me. They put me on the same flight as my mom and my wife back home. So, like, there were some good things out of that, and I obviously my head and my body needed that break. And I came back and Sammy approached me after that game because I could have been cleared, and I was on the road to being cleared to play against LA.
Yeah.
And we all kind of, as a collective, we all kind of decided that it would have been best for me just to kind of sit out. And because if I would have got a third concussion in the span of 2.5 months, that's detrimental to my life in general.
Yeah.
Like, you got to think from your perspective as a player, and then you got to think from the perspective as, like a family man, my other work, other things, real life.
Your other job as a husband. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Family.
It's a full-time job.
It's full-time. It's even,
Right.
it's double full-time. So.
Yeah,
I quit that. I quit that job too after 7 years.
So it's
Actually,
they
fired me.
They fired you. Yeah.
So regardless, just a lot of inconveniences in that aspect with what happened in San Diego, because it was my 1-year anniversary with my wife as well. And, I don't want to worry her with me getting concussed on that day. So just a lot was going through my mind, and it kind of put me not really in a funk, but man, what could I have done differently in my tackle tech? You start to think about scenarios, but I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason, and, more opportunities should be on the way for me in the future. So that's something I look forward to.
I have no doubt USA is going to be, coming calling again. Are you thinking you've got an opportunity here for fall internationals, or is it going to be a wait until the beginning of next year?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
right now, a lot of the guys are taking time off because season just ended. So we're taking like 2 weeks off from gymming and just kind of relaxing, letting our body rehab from the big season. And for me, this will be like my 5th week now because I have been rehabbing already since San Diego. And so every day I'm taking it day by day, seeing how I feel. And if that call up does happen, in the future, if I do feel okay, then, obviously I'll accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, getting your first cap against a team like the All Blacks
in DC,
that wouldn't be too shabby, right? I'd take that as a good cap for everybody. So, nice.
Yeah, Gary, get on the phone.
Get on the phone, Gary.
So Connor, there's a rumor about you.
Oh.
And because you look like him, because you kind of play like him, there are people out there, or play like he played. There are people out there that think that you're related to Paul Emmerich, like you're his little brother. Is that true?
No.
Young Paul. Paul's a great player.
Paul.
I personally don't know if I like being compared to anybody else because I feel like I play my own game.
I said a lot.
I do know. I do have a lot of respect for Paul. He is a great player, was a great player, great coach. So yeah, being compared to him is not bad.
So let's talk about what's yeah. What I want to talk about also with you, Connor, is kind of we alluded to it at the beginning, the draft and things coming up. Obviously today on social media, you just actually posted stuff about those who are interested in the draft. What I'm curious from you, this is year 1, done and dusted. You are now a seasoned MLR veteran. You've played in a quarter of the total.
Season.
You've played in 1/4 of the total MLR seasons in
25%,
existence.
yeah.
You played
And
in
won Rookie of the Year awards for the AG.
yes, taking my
Thank
thunder,
you.
damn it. Yeah,
I did vote for Connor as Rookie of the Year, even though he missed, quite a bit of the season. I thought the impact on the field when he was playing was better than any of the other rookies.
Appreciate that.
It's hard to define. I was like, I actually forgot to vote, so that was my fault. But what I find it hard to do is
I didn't even know there was voting.
I didn't know there
to
was.
be honest.
I didn't until the very end. But who's a rookie? Is it somebody who's first year in MLR? Because there's a lot of rookies on the team.
Right.
Mac Mason's a rookie. Sebastian Deschamps is a rookie. But it's or is it first year professional rugby? So that's what I was saying.
It's first year professional player.
That's what I said. Somebody's like, well, I mean, technically, I'm like, well, technicalities, whatever. Anyway, going back to it, right? So this is your first season. What do you say to those guys now who are literally tonight signing all the information, filling out their contact forms, submitting all of the people here in Texas? I'm sure there's quite a few people putting their putting my hand up, put my name in the hat. Come on, MLR, I'm ready to go. What do you say to those guys about the experience of the draft and then the experience in knowing, it's not easy to get to professional sports in any sport, but about what it takes and what it's meant to you in this past year?
And there might be changes of where you end up, even if you're
Right. I'd say that it's attainable for a lot of these kids that probably don't think that it is attainable. I have probably told this story a lot. I entered in kind of a hodgepodge highlight reel of my last 2 seasons in college. And I probably could have put in other things and left out some of the 7 stuff that I put in my highlight reel. And because I didn't realize that was going to be the main driver for a lot of these coaches. That was like, a lot of these coaches are foreign, so they don't know, American collegiate rugby. So they're going to be looking at those highlight tapes to try to get who you are as a player and a person. So it makes a big difference. But as I was saying earlier on social media, there are other outlets. The Rugby Showcase is putting on a clinic up in the northern part of America, which is sweet.
For the northern part of America.
Obviously, yeah.
Alex
It's sweet for them.
Grouping of players up there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's still cool. It's awesome for these young guys to get that opportunity and that exposure that they wouldn't be getting elsewhere. And, for me, entering the draft, it wasn't like the top thing on my list. It wasn't like out of my priorities, it was like, okay, I'm gonna marry this girl. I need to find a big boy job. I'm getting out of college. I need to get my degree, and then I have this draft on the side almost. But the way things have panned out, and if I would have taken it even more serious, I don't know how much better it could have gone for me, but
I was like, you were number 1. I don't think.
Regardless, I know
not a negative position in the draft.
I know that the talent levels are only going to go up every year, and more people are going to enter into the draft, so it's going to get more competitive. So these people need to take it more seriously.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things, and I'm sure Grant will attest to this, there's only going to be 3 rounds of the draft, right? So 13 teams. Everybody's like, oh, who's going to be? Why is it going to be uneven? As of right now, it's only going to be 13 next season. People just deal with it. Sorry.
There is a 14th team that is very far along, but there's no confirmation yet.
I know. As I'm saying, as of right now, there's 13.
Can we release that information?
As of right now, there's 12.
No.
As of right now, you're right. As of right now, there's 12 teams.
True. If I guess a random city and
go for it, Connor. I don't care.
Is it Chicago?
Chicago has the best chance of being the next one in.
They're the closest ones.
Correct.
Yeah. Which
nice.
I will say yes.
It's not a big surprise. Cool. Chicago has literally been MLR needs a team in the Midwest. Hard stop. There
were rumors about a potential Ohio team, but the money side is still a long way away.
Yeah, Chicago's the closest one to it. Dallas. They have been
The
admitted.
money's in, baby.
The money's in because Rick Collins has paid his season tickets, and that's how they're taking season
Rick's
ticket
paying the
holders.
salary for the boys.
That's why they needed season
Wait a
ticket
minute,
holders.
why don't I have an ownership stake?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You should take ownership. But to go back to what I was saying, like 3 rounds of the draft, 13 teams. You can do the math. That's 39 players as of right now. If we added 14, we'll add 3 more. Again, this isn't math class, people. There's a ton of people entering the draft. Someone was talking that
there were close to 300, I believe,
That's what I'm saying.
for last year's draft, and
I guarantee it's only gonna be
expectation
higher.
would be close to 600.
600. So do the math on that. Not everybody's going to get in, but what it's going to do is it's going to get everybody who is on this draft board or in this draft pool. It's going to get them exposure to,
Yes.
you may not get drafted, but you may get a call from somebody that says, "Hey, we didn't draft you, but hey, would you be interested in coming down to Austin or to Houston or to Dallas or anywhere and playing with Rugby HTX, playing with the Austin Outlaws, again, trying to develop and build the teams. The goal is like come to Texas, play the rugby, and hope to get a pathway to the next team." So I think that's one of the big things for these these college players that are entering the draft right now. There's opportunity outside of just being drafted.
Also,
And
I think
one of those teams you mentioned put 6 players in the MLR this year.
There you go. I can't believe you didn't talk about that earlier too. So I was just waiting. Congratulations, Rugby HTX.
So I think also you think about the development teams that are being required for these MLR teams to have. That's going to add that many more positions for those players to fill. It's not just that you're going to get a drafted player or we're going to pick somebody out from non-draft pool to get in and play on the professional team. We've also got a development team that we can fill with players that, don't get drafted. But Connor, I had one question for you. There's a lot of kids who, it's not super easy to, let's say you're in New York, pick up and move to LA, for example. What is that journey like? You didn't have that long a travel, obviously, but in terms of like making that decision to pick up and move, what would you say to those kids who are like, they're concerned, like, oh, I'm going to pick up and move, and then maybe I'm not going to have a job in a year. Like, what has it meant to you playing in MLR this season that you could say, whatever it is you want to say to those players?
Yeah, I'd say do it, especially because most of these guys are really young, and there's not much to lose. It's like, and you're going to a cool city regardless, and you're going to a cool atmosphere. You're going to a team that's going to welcome you in, no matter where you go. I know that the rugby culture is like that anywhere you go, and even after the games, in the MLR, you're going to go up to the other teams and congratulate them and say what's up, like, hey, I've been watching you for years, or hey, like I actually wanted to meet you, and everybody's really cool about it. So the culture is going to be sweet, and the clubs will help you out as well, or they should help you out for the travel expenses. At least that's how it was for me, and you can make a case for yourself, especially if you're in New York trying to go to LA and these coaches do take it into consideration of where you're living and how your situation differs from other players that may be living closer to them.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, I think it's
so I heard just do it.
Just go.
Just do it.
Yeah. Right. If you know what, we should brand that. No one's ever done that. Nobody's ever used that.
I've never
phrase
heard
before.
that phrase.
Never heard that phrase at all before. Yeah, I think as the marketing guy, I'm pretty sure we'll be good. No patent or trademark infringements on that at all.
I'm just gonna go ahead and back out.
Just put a comma in there somewhere.
Yeah, just do dot some ellipses
just
at the end.
Yeah, do it with 2 T's.
Yeah, there you go. Oh man, yeah.
Rule 34 is coming into play here. We're getting too close.
I was just gonna stop. I was just gonna stop us on that one. Obviously,
we're done.
as we kind of wrap up here with you, kind of like we talk about the things of highs and lows of the season. Talked about what it's meant to you, what it's meant to players. If you could go back and change one thing, or one thing you did as a college athlete or as a youth athlete moving up into rugby to help better yourself now, what would you have done? That's right. Asking the hard questions.
Being at Life, I probably should have taken more time to work with some of the guys that are making it huge right now. Well, not making it, making it huge. Like just some of like the better players, the more veteran guys, especially as a freshman coming in, I had a lot of people at my disposal that I probably didn't take advantage of. I had AJ McGinty like walking around right next to us, like living with us, Ash, and then Cody Melfi, and some of these bigger name guys that were
legends
on our teams that we probably, I probably could have utilized their knowledge and their skills a little bit more. At least when I was younger, I tried to take advantage of what was around me as I got older. But as an incoming freshman and throughout my sophomore year as well, I probably could have used that information.
And now you get to mentor the next generation of athletes.
I think that's literally why we all are in the position we are now. Is now that I've gotten into coaching, it was because I didn't take advantage of those smarter people than I was when I got into rugby, and I'm like, I want to make sure that I give back and I make sure that these kids have an opportunity to learn as much as they can, because I didn't do that. So I take initiative with my players to make sure that they have an opportunity to do that, because it's difficult when you're a freshman coming into college, or into high school for that matter, to like think ahead. I mean, there's just no way.
When you're in high school and college, you don't think. Come on, man. Jeez.
You just do.
They just do.
We're coming back to the slogan again.
Grant,
can't do that, Grant.
You got any?
I finished my whiskey, so that's no more questions or comments.
No more questions for you, Grant. What are you thinking, man? Like, anything remaining for Mr. Mooneyham?
We're gonna be not safe for work if I watch what I'm.
Shit, we're already not. We already have explicit content on the title anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So just do eat.
Do it.
Oh man, hey Connor, we do any last words for you? Like anything that would like to say to your fans, your family listening? Texas is your home. People love you here, whether they're out in Dallas or your family in Houston, or of course now your new family here in Austin. Anything you want to say to those who listen and watch?
Yeah, just say what's up.
Hey guys,
next season, let's fill that stadium. Let's fill Bold Stadium.
Yeah.
I know that by the end of the season, we were really getting a lot of fans out there, and it was pretty hectic, actually. It was pretty sweet, like feeling that presence, especially that last game against Toronto when we were almost sold out. Like it felt nice as a player. 3,000
something people sitting up cheering the greatest try in MLR history. Sorry, Connor. Larome White, full
no. Hey, 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah. Larome White Lightning.
Dude's got gas.
How he didn't even get recognized for a try of the week. It wasn't even in the top 5. I wanted to like smack everybody at MLR and the Rugby Network for not knowing anything. So
I no comment on that.
Exactly, right?
No comment.
I feel you.
You can't speak against MLR.
Can't speak against his boss.
They showed the top 5 tries of the year.
His contract side.
I don't.
Wait, yeah. So again, when did they show the top 5 tries of the year?
Go look on their Instagram and
just today.
Oh.
I think it was like the other day, or maybe even today. They showed the top 5 tries of the year, and
they're probably all garbage.
No, they're good tries. They're good tries.
I love Connor's like, yeah, well.
I'm not gonna. There's obviously some bias coming from the big people.
Yeah.
The office.
Ooh. Salty.
The number 1 try was actually very good.
Utah in there than should be.
What's that?
The number one try was actually very good. The Utah try against us.
Yeah, that was a good one.
In Utah, that was a great try.
It was a great try.
I'm not salty that that's on there. I'm just
You know,
there were
I
some
don't
other
care
ones
what
throughout the
was
season.
opposite. LaRome's try was try of the year.
Absolutely.
LaRome's try was so good.
It was so
good.
Like literally just jets. Like I talked with Simon Thomas, who's as Connor, he's in charge of performance. He said he literally clocked in the fastest speed of the game.
He did.
On that.
Wow.
Yeah, he ran like an 8.7.
8.7, yeah.
I talked to him the following weekend. And he said he was so out of gas at 22 meters.
Oh yeah, he was done.
Mentally, he was just pushing himself. He wasn't going to slow down. He didn't care about gas anymore. He was just going to get in there.
That's why he
about Houston.
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of the reasons. Like we talked about it on the podcast, Alex Kalpa and I. It's because LaRome came on early for Patty, I think, who got hurt. And then so LaRome had been scrummaging, he had been playing, and then like 40 minutes in, then he breaks away, and of course he was effing tired.
Forwards, man.
Forwards. What are you gonna do, Connor? I don't know.
I feel for them.
Connor, you're talking to all former forwards here, by the way.
Connor. So
I feel for all of you.
I played fullback for 4 years, and before that I was a wing outside center.
I thought you were
my
forward.
Last season at 35, they moved me to flanker. That was my last season. After I played flanker, I was like, nope.
Forget this.
Nope.
So.
That's it. Done.
Even flanker is like a little bit glorified. As soon as you get in that front row, as soon as you get in that tight five, and there's like 10 knock-ons in a game, see,
I'll punch someone.
I
in the
look
face.
at these guys and I'm like, yo, I'm chilling out on the wing, and I'm looking at everyone like.
There's a reason I quit after playing flanker, because I knew hooker was next, and I was not about to get on that
natural progression. So
hey, you got to own the hooker position.
Exactly.
Hookers are now like they're like wings now.
Yeah. Look at all of them in Millar. But hey, another time. Next week. Next month we'll talk about hookers. Stay tuned to find out what kind. Hey, Rick, Grant, you got anything left over there in Houston for us? He's good. Rick Collins up in Dallas, who might get a team this year. We're gonna stay tuned. It could happen. Maybe not. For Connor Mooneyham, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, man. Good chatting. Always fun. I am Dustin Zare down in Austin, Texas. This is episode 11. Join us for our 1-year special next month, where we talk about all the rugby going on in the month of August, which is nothing. So I have no idea what the hell we're going to talk about. We'll see you next time. It's been Texas Rugby Monthly. We're out.